Eurosceptics, but what of pro-Europeans? Well, I'm joined by one, the former Chancellor Ken Clarke. What do you make of this move?
I think it's very unfortunate that they forced David to make this concession, because I think we need a strong, purposeful government at a time when there are very great problems and dangers facing the country. You're now going to have a government in which there's no total collective unity, in which people will actually stay in office, apparently, but publicly oppose one of the fundamental policies of the government in which they serve about the nation's future. And that is really a most unfortunate situation.
How realistic is it that after this referendum, Tory ministers will all be able to be the best of friends again?
Well, it's very important that we should, but it will indeed be difficult. We tried to keep the party together when we had the Maastricht problems in the last John Major government. Harold Wilson didn't decide to let his ministers campaign on both sides. He was horrified to find that that's what they were doing. His party split up 4 or 5 years later, finally and irrevocably, and they never won an election again for more than 20 years after Harold made the mistake of holding that referendum. But coming up to present day, it's actually important. We still have to build a proper economic future for our children. We do have some terrible problems facing us in the world, particularly in the Northeast and in North Africa and in the Middle East and with the Russians. And what you require is a government that defends our membership of the European Union, keeps us with a proper influential base in the world, and actually provides a proper base for our economy.
But the truth is, isn't it, that Mr Cameron had no option or face the likelihood of several resignations from the cabinet?
Well, in politics, I've always thought that I have great respect for people who have strong principled views. Of course, you make concessions in government. That's how a government has to work. But if it's a big issue that matters to you as a matter of principle, you should resign. Then you're freely able to attack the government's policy on that subject if you insist on wanting to do so. And in due course, you may come back into the government if your talents are needed again. To stay in office, free to actually attack the government on a fundamental question about Britain's role in the world is a pretty extraordinary situation. Even Gladstone didn't have members of his government busily arguing against Home Rule.
Ken Clarke, thanks very much indeed. We'll get more on this in the Commons this afternoon, around about 3:30, when the Prime Minister will be making that EU statement to MPs.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.